Welcome to CSP 340, Chapter 6, Specific Learning Disabilities and ADHD, Part 2. In Part 1, we looked at the definition and the diagnosis. We looked at the characteristics of learning disabilities. We looked at ideas for teaching students with specific learning disabilities. Now we're going to look at the definition of ADHD. So we're going to start with the DSM definition. This is the Diagnostics and Statistics Manual of the American Psychological Association. This is a handout on your Canvas homepage. So if you look over to the right where it says Pages, there's a page that has this handout. So this will not be really big on your screen. And so what we're looking at is that it's a persistent pattern of inattention or hyperactivity and impulsivity that's more frequently displayed and more severe than typically observed in individuals of comparable levels of development. So we're going to look at the child's age, and we're also going to look at their setting and compare them to other children of the same age. And so what we end up with is we end up with two sets of characteristics. The first set of characteristics is what we call inattention. And so we have to have 6 of these characteristics over 6-month period and to a degree where it interferes with the child's everyday functioning. So if you look at this inattention list, we have that they fail to give close attention to details, they make careless mistakes, they have difficulty sustaining attention, keeping attention over a period of time in a task or even in a play activity. So if this kid's playing baseball, he's the one that's going to be out there looking at the dandelions out in the field. Doesn't seem to listen when spoken to directly, doesn't follow through on instructions and fails to finish schoolwork, chores, or duties. Has difficulty organizing tasks and activities, avoids, dislikes, or is reluctant to engage in tasks that require sustained mental effort, such as schoolwork or homework, often loses things necessary for task and activity, easily distracted, and is forgetful. Now, when you look at that list, a lot of times what happens is a parent will say, well, my child can pay attention for a long time if he's on the computer or doing a video game. Well, the reason that it does not negate the idea of inattention is that when you're doing a video game or you're online, you're clicking from visual stimulus to visual stimulus to visual stimulus, and so you're not having to do sustained attention. The second part, the first part is inattention. The second part combines hyperactivity with impulsivity. So we have to have 6 or more of these characteristics under the combination of hyperactivity and impulsivity. So hyperactivity, fidgeting with hands or feet, leaves the seat in the classroom, runs around or climbs excessively. By the way, in adults, this is not so much that we get up and we wander around as it is that we feel like we're about to explode if we have to sit still any longer. Has difficulty playing or engaging in leisure activities quietly. This is a kid who slams doors, who stomps, who moves. When they move, they don't walk, they stride. They don't stand up, they leap. Is often on the go or acts if they're driven by a motor. People are constantly saying, would you please just sit still? Talks excessively. And then the impulsivity part is blurting out answers before the questions have been completed, has difficulty awaiting turns, and this is socially as well as academically, interrupts or intrudes on others, butts into conversations or games. So if you have 6 of the top part, then you have attention deficit inattentive type. If you have 6 of the bottom part, you have ADHD hyperactive impulsive type. And if you have 6 that have some from the top and some from the bottom, then you have combined type. So now we're going to look at characteristics of ADHD. I'm going to show you a video of ADHD in children, and then I'm going to show you one in adults, and then we'll talk about some of these characteristics.
How to recognize ADHD symptoms in children. Is your child high-spirited and unfocused, or suffering from attention deficit hyperactivity disorder? These ADHD guidelines will help you decide if a checkup is in order. You will need an analysis of their behavior, an idea of how long it's been going on, and a visit to the pediatrician. Step 1. Note their capacity for concentrating. Most young children have short attention spans, but those with ADHD don't seem to be listening even when they're spoken to. They frequently lose things, have difficulty following instructions, and often make careless mistakes. Step 2. Recognize if their energy level seems excessive, even for a child. Are they unable to sit without fidgeting? Do they get in trouble at school for leaving their seat, or running and climbing excessively or inappropriately? Do they talk incessantly? Interrupt constantly? Some children are more inattentive than hyperactive, and vice versa. Girls are more likely to have more attention problems, while boys more often fall into the hyperactive category. Step 3. Consider how long the behavior has been going on. If you've observed symptoms for more than 6 months, it might be ADHD. Step 4. Note where the behavior takes place. If it's only at home or only at school, something other than ADHD may be to blame for their symptoms. Step 5. Gauge the seriousness of the problem. Children with ADHD are regularly disruptive at school and at home. Their behavior causes problems in their relationships with both adults and other children. Step 6. If you recognize any of these symptoms in your child, take them to your pediatrician. It's important that they have a medical checkup to rule out other causes for their behavior before ADHD is diagnosed. Did you know children whose mothers had smoked while pregnant were more than twice as likely to have ADHD as children whose mothers did not smoke?
So now we're going to look at a video of an adult with ADHD.
You're back again. Oh, I didn't think you were going to come. Popcorn. So, you want to get into the mind of an ADHDer. Yes, I'm eating popcorn through my blog. That's rude. You want to know what it's like to be in the head of an ADHDer? First, you have to make sure that you're talking to somebody that actually has ADHD. You might be wondering to yourself, how do you know if an ADHDer is actually an ADHDer or an ADD or whatever they want to call it, because I'm not really quite sure what the differences are anymore. If you've ever seen this person say, I'm bored, surefire way, not ADHD. For an example, I look at this piece of popcorn that just hit me in the face. It's got all kinds of sizes, all kinds of colors, all kinds of smells. All of your senses are constantly going, what the hell is that? And then you eat it. The thought is no longer there. Alright. That doesn't really apply to anything, but that piece of popcorn was good, and it was a good excuse to eat it. Perfect example right there. We are now completely off topic. I, in fact, do have ADHD. I was diagnosed when I was younger, and I tried Ritalin. Ritalin didn't really do anything aside of make me not want to eat. I find that a lot of the people that I know that have strong cases of ADHD also have OCD, which is obsessive compulsive disorder. Here's an example of something that I thought of when I was a kid. I was sitting at the table, and I was watching a movie. There was a piece of popcorn here, and a piece of popcorn here. Better. There was 2 pieces of popcorn. Do you think it would bother anybody on the planet to sit in between 2 pieces of popcorn? No. If it was 2 balls of fire that were melting your skin, okay, you might want to move. Me, on the other hand, it just drove me nuts that there was no other pieces of popcorn in the room and I was sitting in between them. Secondly, I thought, no big deal, I'm just going to move over. So I move over. Then I realized that the edge of the coffee table is directly in line with my face. No big deal. Or is it? It, in fact, is a big deal, and I'm not sure why, but it's just one of those things that comes with having OCD. I think the part of me that has OCD wants me to be more organized, but the problem is the ADHD part is a lot stronger and forces me to forget that I was even thinking that in the first place. Popcorn. I intended to make this vlog about something completely different than what it is, and then I decided to scrap that idea because I thought it was time to discuss ADHD. I don't want to be one of those people that's on the internet saying, I have ADHD and not actually have ADHD, so just to let you know, I have ADHD. I actually have a letter from my doctor. That's a receipt, but it doesn't really matter because I can't really show you it in person anyways. I'm going to try to tell you, the viewer. Here's an example. I'm going to try to tell, wowzers. I'm going to try that 19 times apparently. This was just a blog that's going to be insanely impossible to edit because none of the ideas that I had coincided with any other ideas, and it's just going to be a rambling mess. It's not going to make any sense at all, and it's probably going to take me like 10 hours to edit. Thanks a lot, brain. We'll see you next week. For those of you that don't have a YouTube account, please make a YouTube account. Then subscribe to the videos, then like the videos, then rate the videos, and all of those things together will make me happy.
Wow, what a guy, huh? So here are some of the things that we know about ADHD. We know that as far as homework is concerned, somebody's going to have trouble concentrating, may not be attentive to detail, may make little mistakes, may forget to turn things in, even homework. Golly, does that sound like me in the way I've taught this class? Perhaps I have ADHD. Yes, indeed, I do. You may need help learning. In class, you may interrupt. You may answer out of turn. You may not be able to take good notes. So, what are we going to do about all this? So, here's what we know about teaching ADHD. The first thing is that classroom arrangement makes a big difference to kids with ADHD. They really prefer desks in rows, not tables, because if you're in tables, you're too close to other people, and that's distracting. Desks and horseshoes work well. Seated near the teacher, away from peers, away from windows and doors. A quiet corner where it's quiet not just auditorily, but also visually. A schedule to help focus concentration, and headphones or soft music. Teacher proximity. You got to walk past me every now and then to remind me that I'm in class. Lesson help, peer buddies, advanced organizers, varied pace, short activities, built-in movement, hands-on, active involvement, visualization, choral response. Boy, what does all this have in common? It's that it's movement, it's activity. Wacky, weird, odd, and strange. If you can make things odd, different, strange, kids with ADHD will hook into it better. Color coding, pictorial directions, and frequent, specific feedback. And then last, helping ADHD kids study. Plan the schedule for them. Pick the best time of day. Some kids it's early morning, sometimes it's late at night. Take breaks, often, early. Use the strengths that your child has. Make studying fun. That's that weird, wild part. Teach until they get the concept. Use acronyms like my dear old Aunt Sally. Show how to find answers. Use color coding and use practice tests. So, that is Chapter 6. Hope you enjoyed it. Stay tuned, and Chapter 7 will be up soon.